Understanding the steps in selling your business is critical if you want to get the most out of the process. What I'm going to do now is explain that in layman's terms. Especially at the end, we're going to talk about the number one thing that helps get deals over the line. This series was designed to help people that are new to selling their business. The whole point is to help you get comfortable with how the process is going to work and also be able to engage intelligent with the advisors. What we found was that with my clients is that a lot of people didn't have any idea how this worked, and there was a lot of nervousness, a lot of misconceptions, things like that. And so we created a series to try and dispel some of the myths and explain things in layman's terms. And I've also written a book called Selling Your Business. There's a free link in the description field below. Feel free to access that after this. And this is covered in multiple chapters, the topic today. When it comes to the process of selling your business, the number one thing is that you have to have the right buyer. And the right buyer generally is somebody that's going to be able to take care of your baby, that's going to take care of your employees and your staff and everything else. It's a lot of people think selling a business is like selling a property, and we just want the best price. That's what's going through their head, and we want the most money for retirement and all that. When it actually comes to doing the process, what they find is they care a lot more than they thought about making sure the business is going to continue on to be a better version of itself after the sale, and that requires finding the right buyer. 75% of business sale transactions don't make it from heads of terms to closing. It's a terrible statistic. But and half of them that do close don't end up delivering the value that was expected. The reason for that normally when you dig in is cultural fit. We didn't have the right buyers in the first place. And so we're hyper focused on finding the right buyer with a good cultural fit, and everything else kind of works from there. So the first thing to understand in the business sale process is that's what this is about. Now, you might ask, what makes a good buyer? Well, a good buyer is someone that has a passion for your business, that you have good chemistry with, that has the financial resources, all those kind of things. And how we find a good buyer and who the buyers are is covered in another video. What we're going to cover here is the actual process once we've actually found that buyer. Okay, so the first thing that needs to happen if you're going to sell your business is, it sounds very simple, but you need to decide you want to sell your business. And people ask, when is the right time to sell my business? Again, in the book I mentioned, chapter 1 is all about this. And what we found was it's not a mathematical or an intellectual answer, it's a heart answer. And there's a switch in the heart that goes off that says it's time to leave. And we find generally 3 categories of people. People that have had that switch go off and they just know it's time. People that know that switch is coming in 3 to 5 years, or people that are so engaged with their business that they're not thinking about this at all. If you're in the first category, then it's where the switch has gone off. It generally is time to start the business sale process. It can take 12 to 18 months, and so you better get going now. A lot of times, this is sort of forced on people because of a health issue, or maybe a spouse has retired and you want to go traveling with them, things like that. There's functional reasons. A lot of times they just know it's time, and that needs to be responded to. The other category that's in the 3 to 5 year category, there's some very good coaches and groups that help you work on the different aspects of a business to increase the value and sellability of your business. That's covered in another video. But we're going to cover here what happens now that you've decided you need to sell your business. In our opinion, one of the first things you need to do is find a good merger and acquisitions advisor that can help and walk with you through that process. That happens to be my role in the world. I'll cover who we are at the end of this video. But basically someone that's I personally have done over 50 transactions and been involved in 100. And I always say I have 10,000 hours of making mistakes and learning from those mistakes, as well as watching others, and also that you don't have to make those same mistakes. And so we can help you through this process. So when you find a good advisor and someone that can also help you find buyers, the next thing you need to do is you go through a packaging process. They'll take you through actually looking at your company, both at a financial level, a functional level, and kind of the sales level, selling the vision of the company and what it can be, and generally create this thing. There's different names for it, but the one that we use is a confidential information memorandum. It's the actual document that goes to the people that might be interested. Alongside the confidential information memorandum, or SIM is for short, we create a teaser. A teaser is something that gives the highlights of your company, but it doesn't identify your company. These two pieces are created working with you. Nothing is used until you agree to it, but these are the fundamental tools that are used to get people in the door. If you think about it, our role as M&A advisors is to act like a dating agency in the beginning, where we're throwing a huge net out to find people. And then once we find somebody and you decide just to go with that person via heads of terms or a letter of intent, then our job is to project manage a wedding. And the reason we use analogies like this is that we just believe that trust and chemistry and cultural fit are such an integral part of this process. So that keeps the kind of vibe around that going. So the first thing we do is we create these materials. The second thing that happens is we identify target buyers. Now, in our company at Transworld, we're an international company with 250 offices. We have a very extensive buyer search team that will develop using artificial intelligence and all kinds of things, target lists. They will then supply to us, and you'll go through that target list and agree, these are okay, these aren't okay, and these become the ones that we're going to go approach. When we approach these companies, it's always done anonymously. It's very important. Generally, no one knows that your business is for sale, including your employees, and confidentiality is in our DNA. So everything is kept on the down low. And what we do is now we have a target list approved, we approach people anonymously, and the team does it in different ways depending on who they are and the type of buyer, everything from LinkedIn to phone calls to using our networks. There's a variety of ways, but we get to these people with a teaser. If they're interested, we have them sign a very extensive non-disclosure agreement, and then they're provided with a SIM. If they're still interested, they come to us, we qualify them, and then if we like them, we then introduce them to you. And that becomes the second stage in the process, is what we call actually the first date, where you're actually going to meet the people. Normally it's a Zoom call because we want to be able to meet lots of people, lots being maybe 6 or 10, and we don't, depending on what parts of the country people are in, we want to make this easy. And in a Zoom call, we don't talk about commercials. We hardly talk about numbers. It's more about the people getting to know each other and seeing if that chemistry is there, seeing if that cultural fit is there. We call this the heart call. And if that goes well, there's next steps in the process, and people want to continue. Generally, then we will do in-person meetings. It's very important, if we think we have a fit, to go and do in-person so people can experience each other again, to see if the chemistry is there. So we're watching like hawks to see if people like each other and if there's a joining. Very similar to, when you're looking at houses and you're looking and you intellectually think, oh, that's a good house. But then you get to the one and you just like it. There's something about it and you just have that feeling. That's what we're looking for both buyer and seller, going, yes, I think this could be the one. That energy is what closes deals. And lack of that energy is why we have the high statistics of a 75% fall through rate. So if we find somebody, we've done the in-person meetings, the next thing we need to do, now that we know you like each other, like the house, I know I like the house, but can I afford the payments? Is it close enough to the train station? Are there enough schools for the kids? All the head stuff has to be done. Again, if you're working with an M&A advisor, we'll help do deal structuring, and deal structuring and valuation are covered extensively in another video. Feel free to access that, and also in the book. Once we do deal structuring, when we come to common commercial terms, we'll do something that's called a heads of terms sometimes. Some people, like private equity, will issue a letter of intent. It doesn't matter what name it is. What it does is it crystallizes the commercial terms that we've all agreed and sets forth a confidentiality and a exclusivity container, because we're going to do a lot of work after this step, and everybody wants to know that we're going to focus on it. It's kind of like we've been dating and now we're going to agree to go steady with somebody. It doesn't mean the deal's going to close. Going steady with somebody doesn't mean you're necessarily getting married, but it means you're going to take it seriously. We then move into a phase we generally call due diligence, but it has 4 different work streams to it. The first work stream is actual due diligence. So what will happen is we'll set up a virtual data room in the cloud, and the buyer will provide the seller with a list of things they need to see. It's things you'd expect: profit and losses, employment contracts, leases, things like that. Everything, VAT returns, and basically the seller will send this information to a data room team who will populate that into a virtual data room with the indexes and everything. And it's used at the end in the contracts phase in what we call a disclosure bundle. Don't worry about that, but just know this is kind of the technical part of the process that needs to be done. And there's financial due diligence. There's also legal due diligence. There's VAT due diligence. And you don't worry about these things at the time. The lists are very straightforward. The lockers are populated. The buyer reviews those, and if there's any questions, we address them. It's that simple. The second stream of work is for any funding. Most businesses are bought with some kind of debt. Think of buy-to-let flats. It's the same with businesses. And so the buyer often has to go and do a funding exercise, and they need help with that. Sometimes a little help, sometimes a lot of help. It depends on the funder and the situation and what kind of debt it is. But we need to pursue that stream, and we want to help them with that. The third stream of work is what we call post-sale planning. Now, this is the fun stream of work. This is where you and the seller the seller and the buyer work together in order to figure out what things are going to look like the day after sale, in the first 100 days, in the first year. So you're planning the future together. This is the fun part, because it's kind of like planning a wedding and planning the honeymoon, and everybody's thinking about how great it's going to be when this deal closes. And generally, there's a lot of work to be done. We need to know who's doing what on day one. We need to know how much involvement the owner is going to have, all that kind of stuff. And in doing that, the buyer is gaining knowledge of the company. He's also inherently doing due diligence because he's finding out a lot more about the company, getting comfortable with it. The seller is also getting comfortable with the buyer. Again, cultural fit is everything. The other thing that can happen when this process is going on is they can decide they don't like each other. They can decide, remember, you went steady with the girl or the guy because it looked good on the 4th date, but by the 7th or 8th date, you're not liking them anymore. And a lot of times this is where deals don't go through, because the seller can decide that the buyer is not a good fit for various reasons. They don't like the way they do business. They're showing up late to meetings. Maybe the way they speak isn't going to work for their staff and their culture. And it's critical that we find this out at this juncture, because chances are that deal wouldn't close. And even if it did, you're going to be in the statistic of deals not delivering value after the fact. And that affects everybody, the employees, it affects the buyer, but also affects the seller, because very often you have deferred payments after the fact. And if the buyer's not doing a good job, there's not money in the company to pay those deferred payments. So getting this right is really important. The fourth stream of work is the legal stream of work. Generally, we don't bring the lawyers in until we're kind of sure that the deal is going to go through, because we don't want to paying them to be building contracts that we're not going to use. But the lawyers will come in and they'll be creating something. The main event is called a share purchase agreement. Usually it can be an asset purchase agreement if it's an asset purchase, but 95% of the time in this country, we're doing share purchase agreements. And then there's about 15 ancillary documents that go with that. And there's also the other main document is if there's any shares being retained or multiple shareholders, is a shareholder agreement. So the lawyers take care of all of that, and we manage an entire process. Usually during this whole process, what we're doing, if you're working with us, is we're setting up weekly calls where everybody gets together. They're a really, really important part of the process, where everybody touches base once a week from beginning to end, all the way through to closing. In the end, when the latter part of the process is we invite the lawyers to these calls, and everybody knows what's going on. Everybody's plugged into things that are happening. Think of it kind of like a family meeting once a week, on a Sunday or something. Although we don't do them on Sundays, we normally do them, first thing in the morning on a day of the week that works for everybody. So basically, we move through these processes, and the very last process we're moving through is the legal process, although the post-sale planning process goes on. Well, it goes on even past closing, right, as the people work together. And then we get to closing day, and closing day is simply a matter of getting together to sign contracts. We used to do this in person, and we would sign all 15 documents and bring champagne and things like that. Sadly, COVID has put a stop to most of that, and everybody prefers virtual signings with DocuSign and things like that. And then there comes time to announce the sale to the staff, and there are strategies around doing that we can cover with you. At that point, the sale process is complete, and the post-sale plan kicks in, and hopefully we have a result where everybody gets what they need over the next couple of years. Hopefully that was helpful to you. Again, this series is designed to help people that are new to selling their business, as we realize it's a very daunting task. My name's Ken Gorman. I am from Transworld M&A Advisors. We are the largest M&A advisory in the world with 250 offices, 15 in the UK. We're going to do about $1.5 billion of transactions this year. I'm located in London in the United Kingdom. We are here to help. We are here to help take this entire journey with you. A few things that are different about Transworld. One is that we do not take upfront fees. It's a 40-year policy, global policy. This way we're aligned with our clients. We get paid when you do. Another feature of us is that we are large and global. And so we have a fairly extensive buyer search team that can find all kinds of different buyers, both nationally and internationally, to bring them into our local teams who work with you. So we have a very personalized service. So if I work with you, you get me and my team throughout in every single meeting, all the way through to the closing table. The other thing about Transworld is we tend to have older, more certified types of people like me. I was a chartered accountant with Ernst & Young. I'm a certified business valuer and a certified M&A advisor. Doesn't mean we know everything, but we're trying to be good at the job. And more importantly, we care. I see this as a vocation. People that are selling a business, it's a major life change. Next to getting married and having kids, it's the biggest thing that you do. And you're relying on us to help you take that journey. I've done over 50 transactions, been involved with 100, and I always say I have 10,000 hours of mistakes and learning from those mistakes and watching other people make mistakes that you don't have to make, because we're going to help you get to the end of your journey with a good result. Thank you for listening. I did write a book called Selling Your Business, which is 18 chapters specifically designed for people that are new to the business sale process that covers many of these topics. There is a free link to a flipbook version in the description below. We would also be happy to send you a paper copy. Thank you for listening.